So this week we're going to be covering the respiratory system, which works very closely together with our circulatory or cardiovascular system that we were covering last week. We mentioned last week that the circulatory system circulates blood throughout the body, and the main job of the red blood cells is to deliver oxygen to all the cells of the body and to pick up carbon dioxide waste from those cells, delivering them back to the lungs. Well, the lungs are part of the respiratory system. The root of respiratory is respiration. And if you recall back to the beginning of the school year, first quarter, we learned about cellular respiration and photosynthesis. Photosynthesis takes place in organisms that are called autotrophs. Autotrophs meaning they automatically make their own food. They take carbon dioxide from the air, combine it with water, and a little bit of sunlight and produce glucose and oxygen. In turn, organisms called heterotrophs, such as humans, use that glucose from the food that we eat, as well as the oxygen that we breathe in. That oxygen and glucose is sent from our digestive system and our respiratory system by way of our circulatory system to all the cells in our body. Once the glucose and the oxygen are in our cells, they are combined in the mitochondria to produce energy. So both glucose from the food that we eat, as well as oxygen that we breathe in from the air, are needed to produce energy. So the way we get that oxygen and truly get rid of large volumes of carbon dioxide is by way of our respiratory system. So when we say the word respiration means taking in oxygen and getting rid of carbon dioxide. Cellular respiration just means to do that at a cellular level, a really tiny microscopic level where small molecules of oxygen are moving into the cell and small molecules of carbon dioxide are moving out of the cell. Now, when we say breathing is on a much larger scale. It's when we're taking in large volumes of oxygen into our lungs through a process called inhalation or inhaling. And exhaling, we're taking large volumes of carbon dioxide out of our body by breathing that out. So breathing means to inhale oxygen and to exhale carbon dioxide. Now on this main page you see of our PowerPoint, you see a diagram of all the organs that are part of the respiratory system. The respiratory system consists of nasal passages and also the sinus cavity, as well as the oral cavity, which leads way back to the back of our throat, which is called the pharynx. Below the pharynx, you have the larynx, which is also known as the voice box. And then you have the trachea, which is your windpipe. And the trachea branches off into two different branches that are called bronchi. So you have bronchi here and here, one leading into each lung. The bronchi then branch off into many little tiny branches inside your lungs that are called bronchioles, or also known as bronchial tubes. At the end of each one of these little bronchioles here, you see these little tiny air sacs that are called alveoli, and we'll talk really specifically about those later in the PowerPoint. And then below your lungs, you have a muscular organ called the diaphragm, which we'll be talking about as well. And the ribs surround your lungs, obviously, for protection. So the purpose of your respiratory system is breathing. And as I just said, breathing is not the same thing as respiration. Respiration is taking in oxygen and getting rid of carbon dioxide. But breathing is when you do that on a large scale, that inhalation and exhalation. Now, as air enters your body, it's going to enter either one of two ways, your nasal cavity or your oral cavity. It's better actually to breathe through your nose. And the reason for that is because your nose has little tiny hairs called cilia. These hair-like structures are going to trap any kind of dust and dirt particles that may be breathed in as you inhale that air. Also, your sinus cavity is going to warm and moisten that air before it enters the rest of your body. In your nasal cavity, as well as your throat, you also have a substance called mucus. And mucus will additionally trap that dust and those dirt particles as you breathe in. Now, when we sneeze or cough, any of those things, we're oftentimes trying to get rid of things that we did inhale, that we're able to get past the cilia and the mucus, and they don't need to get into our lungs. So we'll cough or we'll sneeze in order to try to expel those little tiny particles that don't need to be entering our body. Now, once air travels in through the sinus cavity or the oral cavity, it's then going to enter the throat. The fancy word for the throat being the pharynx. Then it's going to travel down a little further into the larynx. Now, before it gets to the larynx, though, it's going to pass a thin flap of tissue called the epiglottis. The epiglottis is actually part of the digestive system, but it has a function in the respiratory system as well, because when you swallow and food or water go down your throat or your pharynx, that's also the same tube that air is going down when you breathe or inhale. So when you swallow, the epiglottis, that little flap of tissue, is going to close over your larynx and prevent food and water from going further down the respiratory system. And it's going to force that food and water to go down your esophagus, which leads to the digestive system. Because we don't want food and water getting into our lungs. That can be dangerous, even deadly. It's called aspiration, when you get a liquid or a food in your lungs that don't belong there. So that epiglottis is going to prevent that from occurring each time you swallow. It acts like a little lid over the top of your larynx, and it pushes that food and water towards your digestive system, down your esophagus, not down your larynx. So sometimes that can happen, and that's when we start choking. We'll start coughing, trying to expel that liquid or food upwards so that it doesn't get further down into our respiratory system. Now, the larynx, as I mentioned earlier, is your voice box. It contains vocal cords, these little thin bands of tissue that vibrate as sound waves move past them, and that's how we produce sound. As the air moves further down your respiratory system, it's going to go down your trachea, which is also known as your windpipe. If you've ever heard on medical shows them talking about having to perform a trach is a shortened term for tracheotomy. It means they're having to make an incision into the windpipe of a person because they have something possibly lodged in the upper area of the respiratory system, preventing them from being able to breathe properly. So they'll make an incision here, possibly insert a little tube to open up that airway. So the trachea is the windpipe that leads air down into your bronchial tubes. Now, the trachea branch off into two different branches called bronchi. That may sound familiar if you've ever had bronchitis before. Bronchitis is inflammation of the bronchi. Anytime you hear that suffix itis, it means inflammation of. So like pancreatitis is inflammation of the pancreas. So bronchitis would be inflammation of the bronchi. So these bronchi are airways that lead into your lungs. Now, sometimes we can get bacteria and little infections inside there that cause those bronchial tubes to swell up or get blocked off, and that might possibly cause our airway to be constricted and us not be able to breathe as well. Also, we'll start, when we have bronchitis, coughing, trying to expel a lot of excess mucus that accumulates in there that's trying to get rid of those bacteria or those irritants that are in our air passageways that don't need to be there. Now, these bronchi branch off into lots of little bitty tubes inside your lungs called bronchioles. So air actually enters into your lungs by way of the bronchioles. And at the end of each of these bronchioles, you have little tiny air sacs. They kind of resemble little clusters of grapes, and they're called alveoli. Some people want to pronounce them sometimes alveoli. Sounds like ravioli, but I was always taught it's alveoli, so that's how I pronounce them. But the alveoli is actually what we call the site of gas exchange, meaning that oxygen is actually exchanged between the lungs and the blood at this point, because there are lots of teeny tiny capillaries or blood vessels that surround these alveoli. So here are the alveoli. You can see they have like a network or a net of capillaries, these blood vessels that have blood inside of them. So the alveoli are so thin and the capillaries are so thin that the oxygen can actually diffuse, remember that means to spread or move, out of the alveoli and into the bloodstream. And then the carbon dioxide that's waste can actually diffuse out of the bloodstream through the capillary walls into the alveoli for you to exhale that carbon dioxide. So we say this is the site of gas exchange because we're swapping oxygen and carbon dioxide at this point between the alveoli and the capillaries. Now, as I mentioned earlier, cellular respiration occurs when that oxygen is actually delivered to each cell in the body along with glucose, and then your body can make energy. And as it does that, it produces carbon dioxide as a waste product. Now, the way we breathe is actually performed by a muscle that's underneath our lungs called the diaphragm. Looks like it would be pronounced diaphragm, but the G is silent. So as the diaphragm muscle contracts, which means squeezes, it's going to flatten. And when it flattens, it causes that chest cavity to expand, making more room for your lungs to blow up, if you will, like a balloon with oxygen. So the ribs raise out and the lungs inflate, which causes us to suck air in as the diaphragm draws downward. As the diaphragm pushes up and relaxes, that causes exhalation. So the air is pushed up out of the lungs. So the normal resting position of your diaphragm is like a rainbow. And then when it contracts, it flattens. And that pulls air in for you to inhale. And then when it relaxes, it goes back to that rainbow position, which pushes air up out of your lungs for you to exhale that carbon dioxide. So breathing in means the diaphragm is going down, and breathing out means the diaphragm is moving up. So as that diaphragm moves up and down, that's causing us to inhale and exhale. And that's an involuntary activity, meaning there's a portion of our brain that controls that. We don't have to think about it. It's an involuntary action. Now, we can also have respiratory system disorders. One common respiratory system disorder is asthma. Asthma typically causes symptoms such as wheezing, chest tightness, shortness of breath, and coughing. It's where the airways, the bronchial tubes will constrict and get smaller. And as they do that, it makes it harder for air to enter the lungs. Usually treatment for asthma includes a albuterol inhaler. Albuterol is a steroid, not a bad kind, a good kind, that will cause those bronchial tubes to dilate, to expand so that air can go back into them. So you can see this is a normal airway. The air is supposed to move through the middle here, but someone during an asthma attack has a little narrow area for that air to move in. So it becomes very tightened, very difficult to breathe. And there are different things that cause asthma attacks. It can be something as simple as a change in temperature in the air, being warm inside and going to cold air outside. It can be hairspray or perfume, some other type of irritant, chemical irritant in the air, pollen even, can cause asthma attacks, or they can be stress-induced. But oftentimes people can grow out of asthma. It may be something that they have when they're younger, and as they get older, it alleviates. Now, another common respiratory, well, hopefully not too common, but another respiratory disorder you hear of in older adults is emphysema. Emphysema is going to result in shallow breathing and possibly even death. It's where those alveoli that are inside the lungs rupture, so the lungs aren't as effective. And usually it's caused by years of smoking. You can see the smoker's lungs over here on this side of the page, whereas over here you have clean, healthy lungs and what they're supposed to look like. Usually, if they stop smoking, you could see some improvement, but they may have to have an oxygen tank to help them breathe oxygen a little bit easier since their lungs aren't as effective. So emphysema as well as lung cancer are two deadly respiratory system disorders, or can be deadly, not necessarily immediate. So if you have any questions about the respiratory system, again, as always, shoot me an email. If you need any help as you work through your packet, let me know. I'm going to put a couple of optional activities on Teams, some lab activities. One being you can make a model of the respiratory system that looks like this out of Play-Doh or possibly even clay, and you would lay it on wax paper and use a Sharpie to label these parts of the respiratory system. And again, this is an optional, just fun lab activity that you could do to help strengthen and reinforce your knowledge with the respiratory system. And then I'll also include another little lab activity that you could do where you collect data to see how asthma could possibly influence your lung capacity. So I challenge you guys to try to set out to try to complete one of those lab activities and shoot me some pictures as you complete them. I love to see what you guys are doing and to see that you guys are still working, even though it may be from home. So I hope to hear from you this week if you have any questions. If not, have a great week. Bye-bye.